we are going to create a database here from scratch using the Faircom driver and Microsoft Access. And I'm using Access 2007, but the newer versions are often even easier to use. But I thought this one might provide some information. So we will go to work by starting a new database. We will go to External Data, More, use the ODBC driver, and note that we are given two choices. One is to just go into the file, pull the information out, and put it in Access, or you have the ability to link the data source to this table, and therefore, if you're going to run this report repeatedly, as the original practice partner file updates, it will automatically update this database, which is kind of a neat way to do it. So let's try that. And we'll approach it that way. It is going to ask us where to look for the data, and you go to Machine Data Source. It shows us our Faircom driver, and when that occurs, we see the various files that we have in our PP brief file. So since we are going to be looking for messages, especially messages that have not been read, we will want this file, and we're going to also want patient identifiers so we know who to look for. And so we can pull both of these in at the same time and have these tables come in. And you'll see this happened pretty quickly. And so if we look at patient identifiers here, what we've pulled in over this fairly brief period of time is over 7,500 records. And if we look at the messages table, what we have pulled in over this brief period of time is over 185,000 records. So this is a fast system, a fast way to do things. It pulls in all of the content of each file with Access. And then what we would want to do is develop a query that will allow us to filter things down to what we want. And so we can go to Query Design. Here are our two tables, and we'll put them both in here. And note that they are linking at patient ID, which is critical. And that allows us to connect these two. And if you highlight this link, you can look at Join Properties, and it will give you three choices as to what join properties you want, as far as just records on one side where the fields are equal, or all records on one side and only those records that match on the other. There are instances in which these things are critical. This isn't one of them. But nonetheless, I wanted you to be aware of your ability to manipulate that connection. Now, when it comes to what our choices are going to be for our query, we are going to want some to filter and some to both use as a filter and to look at. And under patient identifiers, we're going to be fairly limited. So what we're going to want here is an account ID and a patient first name. We won't put in the last name to protect the innocent here. But we are going to want an account ID, which I believe is down here. We'll just double check. There it is. All right. That's all we're going to want to display there. When we go over to messages, much more. We're going to want the message sequence, and that is a rather cryptic field. But basically the story here is that we're going to want an instance in which it's going directly. The patient is the main subject here. These aren't emails that we exchanged to each other regarding a particular patient. And then we're going to want the date sent. And because we don't want every email that has been sent since we started with this system, we are going to just look for, let's say, this year. And that is, the magic number for that is 60266. So we're going to want greater than 60266. Now, you would think that date read would be a useful date to have, but at least in my table it doesn't function, and so most of the time it doesn't. It has a 0 in it, which is useless. From there, we go down to other choices that are here, and message subject I find useful. It allows us to determine just how significant the message may have been. Message folder is another useful one because we want the messages that are sitting in the inbox unread. Some will have been placed elsewhere. And then message read is the actual point of all of this, and we're going to definitely want to see what that has to show. Return receipt in our office is a field in which we basically assign a special importance to ones in which we want to return receipt. So we'll put yes there just to filter those out. And message type is another important one, or ID2 type, I should say. And that is up here. And those are messages to patients. It's just one more filter to help us cut down to something manageable. So messages to patients. And then also RX is another filter because we get a ton of messages for refills. And we just want to make sure that we don't have those. So not Y, not yes for an RX message. And I believe that's all we're going to want here. And then finally, we are going to want to convert this cryptic date message into something we understand. And so we'll create a calculated field of date sent. And then with access, when you're creating a field in query, you give it a name, you put a colon there, and open parentheses. And then we're going to use the date sent field. So we'll name that field D_sent, close bracket, and then the magic number from Practice Partner is 18261. You subtract 18261 from the number in Practice Partner, and what you will end up with is a number that can be converted to a date using Microsoft products. We are going to change the properties of this field as well. And so we'll go up to Format and tell it that we want it to be a simple date, short date. So there it is there. And we want to see this. We don't necessarily want to see date sent. We don't want to see message sequence. Inbox, we know we're going to get that. Return receipt. Practice. So this is going to simplify things so we're not staring at too many fields. So we've done our filter, we've created a date field that we can read, and we're looking for everybody who's had an email sent this year with a return receipt requested in which they were the primary person that the email was sent to. So let's run this and see how it goes. Boom. And what we see here is that we pulled out 293 messages, and if we filter this by whether it was sent or not, or whether it was read or not, what we will find is that a substantial number of these sent this year have not been read. And in fact, out of the 293, 182 have not been read. So I think this is a useful report to run. It helps us to understand whether patients are getting important messages or not and may need to be contacted in a different manner. And I hope you find this useful.